What's up everybody, and welcome to my guide on the Proving Grounds Deadly. Hope you enjoyed the little montage intro. I decided to throw in a little spice at the beginning to a somewhat bland guide, but I think you'll find it very helpful. So dropping a fat sub and a fat like would be very appreciated. Although I would consider myself a Battle Cats pro, this stage took me over half an hour to complete with my original loadout because my team comp was pretty bad. I'll show that on screen now. But with my newfound experience, I'm going to show you my new team that I bring and how to do all the levels. But before we talk about that, let's go over each stage individually. This is important because with 8 potential stages you have to do, 9 total, you have to have all your bases covered. Skip to the time marker on screen if you just want to see the loadout already and you already know about all the stages. After being the first level, there are up to 8 continuation stages. You only get 4 of them, and which ones you get are completely random. So what I mean by this is, after you beat the first level, you either go to Dawn or Dusk 2. You only get 1, and after you beat that, you either go to Dawn or Dusk 3. So for example, getting Dawn 2 doesn't mean you always get Dawn 3. And you progress all the way up the ladder until the 5th stage. I'm going to go over a brief summary of each level real quick, and please keep in mind I will explain the strategy more thoroughly once we actually, get to and play the stage, which I'm not doing yet because I'm just talking about the stage right now. First level is extremely easy, nothing to say here other than bring a critter for Super Metal Hippo, probably Waitress. Dawn 2 is also pretty easy since it's just an all black stage with no real major threats. Dusk 2 is a little more difficult. It's really easy if you cheese it, but it's pretty hard if you don't. First time I tried to play this level, I got completely destroyed because I didn't try to cheese it and I just tried to beat it legitimately. That was one of my previous videos of me complaining about that. Throughout the level, there are multiple zombies and zombie seals that are just sent in droves. But you can cheese this level using a Bahamut and Cancan. Next is Dawn and Dusk 3. Dawn 3 is somewhat difficult, but as long as you bring Cyberpunk, you should be fine, and all you have to do is stall out all the enemies while Cyberpunk takes care of it. Dusk 3 is a complete cakewalk if you have all the Cats of the Cosmos treasures, because the starter aliens aren't boosted enough to be a threat if you have all 3 treasures from all 3 worlds. If you only have 2 chapters worth of treasures though, this level might pose a slight challenge, but should still be pretty easy, and if you have only 1 chapter treasure, it's literally impossible, and you shouldn't even be attempting the Proving Grounds Deadly anyway. Continuing on to Dawn and Dusk 4. Dawn 4 is actually kind of difficult, but the gist of this stage is a strong frontliner with 2 strong backliners. This stage is easily defeated as long as you bring some sort of anti-angels to block Borifim's progress. Ramen and Talented Sanzo are highly recommended. Now looking at Dusk 4, you can see that it's much easier than Dawn 4. The enemies I listed are the only enemies in the stage and are very easily defeatable because Kala Maria has single target and there's only a few little buns and they're not that boosted. So after that, you've reached the final stages. Looking at Dawn 5, you might be a little intimidated seeing that new steroid Gory unit, but he's really not that difficult. He's basically the same as a normal Gory, but with freeze immunity, so as long as you have Pizza with you, just easy win. No big deal. The biggest threat in this level is the Zangru's burrowing, but a Bahamut and the rest of the mid-rangers in my loadout easily take care of them. Now Dusk 5 is actually an intimidating stage, but with my new comp it should be easy enough. So Clyde 1 only spawns on base hit, and he spawns with the Metal Seal, and the best way to beat this level is to just kill the Metal Seal, and then slowly chip down Clyde 1 with Cyberpunk and a Bahamut. This level absolutely requires Waitress/Soba Cat, and on level 40, Soba Cat can 3-shot the 300% Metal Seal, so you should probably try getting Soba Cat to level 40. Okay, since all the stages are explained now, let's go over the team comp. First things first, you absolutely need Cyberpunk. He's super crucial to this loadout because there's a lot of backliners in these stages. He's one of the only non-Uber units who can take care of them. If you somehow don't have him, my strategy probably won't work unless you have some good LD Ubers that can replace him, like Aphrodite or something. Soba Cat's also mandatory for the aforementioned reasons of being my sole critter. If your Soba or Waitress is below level 40, I'm not sure how consistent my strat will be, and you'll probably need to include a second critter. I recommend replacing Pole Vaulter Cat if you need a second critter. The other important units in this loadout are Sanzo, Ramen, Cancan, Pizza, and a Bahamut, and obviously the erasers. Sanzo and Ramen are essential for beating the Angelic Boar in Dawn 4. Pizza is extremely useful for defeating all the black-based stages. Bahamut Cat is useful for cheesing Dusk 2, as well as just doing some big damage to backliners when he gets the opportunity to slip into their range. And Cancan and Housewaifu are mostly replaceable units. I find Housewaifu the least useful because in the zombie stage we're cheesing it, so we don't need her necessarily. But they're both still pretty helpful units, but again, very replaceable with either another critter if you need one, or just any sort of utility, maybe wave attacks like slime or manic macho legs. With all the prerequisites and garbage out of the way, let's get into the stage play-by-play. So the first stage is pretty easy, so I'm gonna skim over it really quick, and I'll just use this time to shout out Yu. He let me use his footage for Dawn 3 and Dusk 4 because I couldn't get these stages, and the one time I got them, my footage failed to record, so yeah, big shout out to him for letting me use this footage. If the footage is his, you'll see up at the top left his name and the Power Director watermark on the bottom right. But that's only in 2 stages. Luckily, I got to film both the last stages. Again, Dawn 3 and Dusk 4 footage, not mine, all Yu's, and that's why the load's different and why there's Ubers, so again, thanks to him for letting me use it. So, like I said earlier in Dawn 2, the stage is pretty uneventful. Just, you know, a couple black doges and otters spawn in the beginning. Everything Pizza can easily take care of. So, you know, we're just casually going to kill these guys. But once you hit the base, that's when a Toucan, a Tacky, and the Dark Emperor Nyandem spawn. And you'll see what I'm about when I'm about to say this, but the biggest thing is to stop spawning Eraser when the Tacky spawns, because the Erasers are basically just enabling the Tacky to hit Pizza. Because, you know, if you don't know this, Tacky's range is less than his LD range, meaning if him and any unit attack each other, just 1v1, Tacky will never hit them. He needs something to hit off. So after the Toucan and the Tacky are dead, which are easily killed by Pizza, especially if you have wave talent like me, just slowly kill the Laboyne with Cancan, Valter. If you didn't bring them, you just chip him down eventually. It's pretty easy. Pizza doesn't really get one-tapped by him, so yeah, eventually he's dead. And that's about it. Alright, as you saw, sorry about that, but in between stages, I'm just going to go from, for example, Dawn 2 to Dusk 2, Dawn 3 to Dusk 3, Dawn 4 to Dusk 4, and so on. So if it says moving on to the 3rd stage, I'm actually going to go look at the Dusk stage. And after the Dusk stage, that's when I'll go on to the next stage up. Dusk 2 is, as I said, I'm cheesing it. The biggest thing is to have a couple Manic Erasers with a Bahamut to cheese, because the Coffin Doges will stack and line up if there's a Manic Eraser ahead of them, but if there's no Manic Erasers, they won't start stacking in an even line, so a Bahamut can't kill them all at the same time. Dawn 3 is where Yu's footage first comes in, and yeah, I know my man is Uber carrying a little with Aphrodite and Eva 02, but stage is completely possible without them. As you can see, even before Aphrodite arrives, the enemies aren't really pushing too hard, and the main thing in the stage is to let Cyberpunk chip down the 2 backliners, the Sloth and Dark Emperor Nyandem, and the stage will eventually be easily beaten. Obviously, you're going to beat the stage like 3 times faster using Aphrodite, but again, completely possible just Cyberpunk. The enemies really don't push hard enough to challenge Cyberpunk and kill him, so it's more of a waiting game, and I'd recommend to speed up if you're impatient, mostly for this level and a couple others. Dusk 3 is the easier stage. Again, if you have all the treasures from Cats of the Cosmos, like I do, the stage is just a joke. None of the starred aliens can deal damage to any of my stuff. Even with just Chapter 2 treasures, I don't think you should have that hard of a time, because a lot of the starred alien backliners are kind of just memes, like Corporal Wayland, Project A, and, you know, Spacefish Jones isn't that much of a threat. Like, I don't think anyone's ever said, oh my gosh, Project A is so hard, or oh my goodness, Spacefish Jones is giving me such a hard time. So don't worry about it if you just have 2 chapter treasures. Dawn 4 is where things get ramped up though. The start is pretty slow, and the biggest thing is you don't want to push too hard in the beginning, because there's a Chick-fil-A that spawns at about 38 seconds, and if you hit the base before it spawns, then you'll have to deal with 2 of them because the second one spawns on base hit. So make sure you wait for the first Chick-fil-A to spawn, then just kill it, hit the base, and that's when the boss and all the other enemies spawn. So after triggering base hit, the Angelic Boar and his backliner friends will come in. The most important part of this stage is to keep a steady line of Sanzo and Ramen. The problem with Sanzo, and more of the problem with this stage, is that the Angelic Boar has 5 KB count, meaning that when Sanzo is slow procs, but the Angelic Boar gets knocked back, he kind of gets Misley Syndrome, so the backliners will get free reign on all of your mid-rangers. But having Ramen and Sanzo combined, you can recover from this issue. and eventually you'll be able to kill the boar. It is a little RNG reliant though. If you don't slow proc enough, you're screwed, and if boar gets stuck behind the backliners, you get temporarily messed up, and you just have to rely on Sanzo to recover, as well as Ramen holding off the board. But once Master A is alone, easy kill just with a Bahamut and cyber chipping him. After that, the stage is basically completed. Dusk 4 once again features footage from Haruyu. Again, thank you for letting me borrow it. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. This stage is one of the easiest in the entire circuit. It's probably similar in difficulty to the first level, to be honest. Just a little bun in the beginning. After, it's just a couple little buns in Cala Maria. The reason it's so easy is that Cala Maria is single target, and there's nothing else in the stage. So it's essentially just a couple little buns and Mr. Angels, and Cala Maria isn't a threat at all. So that's about it for this stage. Just an easy dub. Now on to the final rounds. First up is Dawn 5. The easier of the final stages. It is similar in difficulty to XP Mega Blitz in my opinion. Maybe a little harder. Point still stands. As long as you have pizza, not difficult. Vaulter helps with Zangru a little, but the Zangru is only at 250%. So it has 250k health. That's not really an issue at all. Especially because there's only 2 Zangrus that spawn, and they're both spawning a minute apart. So, no zombie spam, just that new unit Raging Gory, not very hard at all, and the Dark Emperor Nyandem. Just make sure you don't spawn Cyberpunk too early, or he will get killed by a burrowing Zangru. I stopped the speed up to point out the second Zangru coming out, and he's about to burrow. And while that may not seem like a big deal, he will get very far. There he is. Now he's like right at my base. He's cut off everything, and the Raging Gory comes rushing in. This is kind of intimidating, and it can kind of throw you for a curveball, but you can easily rebound as shown. The Zangru isn't strong enough to actually be a threat, which makes this level goofily easy. Again, it's like XP Mega Blitz level difficulty. Some of these levels are either super easy, or they're super hard, and it's kind of inconsistent, which is why I made this guide. Last but not least, Dusk 5. This is the hardest stage in the entire circuit in my opinion, up there in difficulty with Dawn 4. In the beginning, you have an extremely boosted Starred Alien Doge and 300% Metal Doge. I have never seen a Starred Alien this boosted, because the Starred Alien Doge doesn't even get knocked back by one Cancan hit. A Cyberhorn also spawns with them, which Waitress will easily take care of. The real threat spawns after you kind of get through all these Metal Doges and Star Doges and crap, and you hit the base, where Cly 1, Corporal Wayland, and a 300% Metal Seal will spawn. The funny thing is, I don't really notice Corporal Wayland in this level, despite all his warping, because he's not really that harmful. But I've noticed he's not nearly as boosted as the Starred Alien Doges, and you can kill him quite easily without even trying to. As you just saw, a housewife attack kind of knocked him back. So Corporal Wayland isn't too much of a threat, and in fact his warping can help a little bit sometimes just to avoid Cly 1's attack, but it kind of does help Metal Seal push up, which is a problem. The most annoying part of this stage is that the Metal Seal has higher range than the Doges, meaning that they'll basically cushion Metal Seal from all of the critical hits. So the way you usually lose the stage is that the Doges and your Waitress timing are in sync, so that the Waitress only ever hits the Doges. That's why I came so close to losing in this level. But if you already know this beforehand, the level should be a little easier. Just try to time your Waitress to where it can hit when a Doge is not guarding Metal Seal. After Metal Seal is dead though, the stage threat level drops a lot. All that really needs to be done now is to kill Cly 1. The Starred Alien Doges are still a nuisance, but not necessarily a threat. Like, he can't really push back to your base with Cly 1 or anything. It's just the stage takes a bit to complete now. Cyberpunk will help chip down Cly 1, and so will Bahamut, as well as Cancan, because he can survive one Cly 1 attack. And with all the stages done, I guess that puts a wrap on the Proving Grounds Deadly Guide. If you've watched this far, thanks for sticking with me and trooping through all the somewhat boring stuff. I don't know, I like these kind of videos, so I hope you found it entertaining. Mostly, I couldn't really find a guide to this stage. Like, there's playthroughs of it, but none of them are complete. And so I thought I would make one. Unfortunately, though, I could not get 2 of the stages, which is why I had to use Haru's footage, which was very kind of him, but unfortunately he did use Ubers. I hope you could see how you would be able to beat it without Ubers, and I hope I explained it well enough. Making a video this long with this many voiceovers is kind of difficult, so leaving a fat sub, fat like, as earlier stated, would be very kind of you. I'll probably be posting this video either Thursday or Friday as of recording, and after that, the 100 sub special will come out a couple days after, or I'll start working on it then at least. By the way, thanks for 100 subs. That's a pretty awesome number, very satisfying to look at. So to all of you subs, thank you very much. And I think that's about it. So have a good day or night or wherever you guys are, and see ya.